Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as I show you how to deadhead my Stokes Aster. So let's go. I made a video recently of a plant haul that I did with a bunch of perennials that I just have been wanting for the last few years. And I finally just broke down and got the plants, paid full price for them, but it was totally worth it because I'm happy and I got these plants that I've been wanting to add to my landscape. And one of them that really needs to be deadheaded is this one right here. And this is a type of Stokes Aster. It's a proven winners plant and it's called Totally Stoked Riptide. I live in New Hampshire zone 5B and this plant is hardy in zones 5 through 9. It is a wonderful addition in a garden. And what I really like about it is that it will bloom for me prolifically as long as I keep it deadheaded. I am new to this plant, so I got looking at the plant because normally it's pretty easy when you look at a plant to know what to deadhead. What's a bud, what's a flower, and what's a blossom that's gone by. But with the Stokes Aster, it's not as easy. I looked on the internet and I looked at videos and it still wasn't extremely clear on what was a flower bud and what was a blossom that was spent. So I figured I'd make this instructional video that just explains the process for deadheading a Stokes Aster. It's pretty clear that this right here is a blossom. It's beautiful. This is exactly what you want your flowers to look like when they're blooming. This right here will probably open up tomorrow. And it is very close to opening up. So we definitely don't want to touch that. We don't want to deadhead that. See this creamy white bud? This is a flower bud. This will eventually turn into this right here, which will then eventually turn into a flower. Therefore, we don't want to cut this off. And there's another one right behind it. This one here, you can tell, is definitely a blossom that is spent and has gone by. So at this point, what I recommend is going through your entire plant and removing anything that looks like a spent blossom, anything that's obvious. So this is one. There's one up here. There are a couple here, and there's one here. I have these small little micro snips, and they're made by Fiskars. I really like them when I want to get into tight spots, and I figured this is great for cutting these back, but you can also use something like hand pruners. Right here, this flower will be blooming soon. This right here is a blossom that's spent. And if you look down, they're both sharing the same stem. So you want to be really careful when you make your cut. You want to just follow this blossom that's spent down right here at the base. So there's our spent blossom right there. And right behind that spent blossom, I just want you to look at this. This is what was behind it. So if you ever see this on your plant, just know that you can also deadhead that. Here's another one right there. And again, we're just going to follow it down to a leaf node. This here is where the confusion lies. These are blossoms that have already gone by. And if you actually look a little bit carefully, you'll see they look almost like a brown color in the center of them. And if you rake them with your fingers, they almost seem papery. But rest assured when I tell you, you want to remove each of these and cut them back down to a leaf node. If you don't do that, that's telling the plant to stop sending blossoms out and instead to just basically be done for the season. We don't want it to be done for the season. We want it to keep blooming. So in this case here, you can see we can cut this one, we can cut this one, we can cut this one, and we can cut this one. So in that case, I'm going to follow it all the way down right here. And I'm going to cut all of these back, just like that. Something else that I at least noticed is that with the spent blossoms, the fern-like leaves that are around the blossom are quite a bit. And whereas with the buds, there aren't as many fern-like leaves surrounding those plants. So you might want to look at that as well. The other thing I wanted to point out was it is confusing, and I get it, but notice the size of this spent blossom. It's pretty big. This guy right here, the center is not creamy white yet, but it's very, very small compared to the spent blossom. That tells me this will eventually turn into more of a whitish cream colored bud, so you don't want to touch it. But also a lot of times if the bud is in the center or the inside of the plant, most likely it's going to bloom. It's not a blossom that's been spent, so keep that in mind. And there you have it. That is the best way I can explain how to deadhead your Stokes Aster. It is not the easiest thing to deadhead. I've deadheaded so many perennials as well as annuals in my life. This one was a little tricky. I'll definitely give you an update once I get this plant in my landscape, as well as once it reflushes and starts blooming again. I hope you found this video helpful. I'll be making a lot more videos showing you my process for deadheading plants, collecting the seeds from plants, and everything plant related. Speaking of collecting the seeds of plants, keep in mind when you're collecting the seeds of plants, some plants are bred to be sterile, which means they don't produce seeds. I'll keep you posted on whether or not this particular plant does produce any seeds or not. Until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.